Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your boy C. Will back to you with another video, and it's been a busy week when it's coming to tech, GPUs, and all that good stuff. Oh man, if this is your first time here, welcome here. We do everything tech, all things tech, whatever it is, we like to do it. If you're a returning viewer, I appreciate you the most because you keep everything going. Let's get into this news. All right, so man, they announced, and when I say they, AMD, they announced two new graphics cards today. The RDNA 3 line on the RX 7800 XT and the RX 7700 XT. And lo and behold, these are 1440p cards. Yes. But not only that, it's for the mid range. And this is what's been missing because Nvidia has just been jacking people up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Nvidia has just been, and I'm an Nvidia fan. If you don't know, I got a 4090 deal on it, but I got a 4090, and that's because I wanted the best of the best. A lot of the creativity stuff that I do, and I didn't want the FOMO. Yeah, that's a real thing. Didn't want the FOMO, but when it comes to AMD, I haven't purchased an AMD card yet, but it's coming. It's definitely coming in. I don't know. I may see if I try to get my hands on the 7800 XT, and the reason being is because I'm just gonna just skip down here to the bottom. This thing. Listen, $499 for the 7800 XT, $449 for the 7700 XT. Now that one is a little weird, the $50 difference, but it's probably more, saying, so you're talking about, what is that? 50, it's like 10%. So, but I think the difference in performance is more than 10%. So 10% difference in price, but the performance, I think is more than 10%, but let's take a look at it. If we take a look here, we'll get into some of the other chart stuff, but of course, rely on third-party testing. But, when it comes to the difference in between these two, so compute units on the 7700 XT is 54 versus 60 on the 7800 XT. RT accelerators, they're on the second gen for the RT accelerators. AI accelerators 108 versus 120 game clock. Of course, on the higher end models, usually the actual clock speed is always a little bit lower because of the density and stuff like that. Now here, GDDR6 memory, 12 gigs or 16 gigs. Now, there's going to be some other comparisons as we go down the chart. The 7700 XT is being compared to the 4060 Ti, and the 7800 XT is being compared to the 4070 when it comes to Nvidia. So it's very interesting because the actual 4070 is going for $600, and then the 4060 Ti is going for $500. So this is really good, when it comes to prices, stuff like that. Memory interface, 192-bit versus 256. Yeah, total board power, 245 versus 263. This is looking real good. So if we scroll down here, it gets a little bit into the actual charts. And you could see, again, like I said, the 4060 Ti, 16 gig, terrible card, terrible value, against the new 7700 XT, 12 gigabyte. So 60 plus average FPS when it comes to 1440p at max settings. Now, we don't know what that means on, again, we have to do our own testing and stuff like that. But look at the titles. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, 31% towards the red team. Cyberpunk 2077, 26% towards the red team. So, and if we go all the way down, this is looking pretty good. And for $449, I'm just going to be honest with you. I wouldn't purchase the 7700 XT if I was in this market. I would just get the 7800 XT. $50. If $50 is going to make or break you between performing at a high level or performing at an okay level, find the $50 and get the 7800 XT. So it looks like AMD is kind of pushing that narrative, trying to make up the actual gap, with the cost of the cars and all this different type of stuff. But yeah, I won't spend too much time on this one. It's the 7800 XT is what I'll be looking at. So if we're looking at Call of Duty, 23% over the 4070. And the 4070, now let me tell you, if you saw my video about the 3080 Ti, it also has 12 gigs of VRAM. And it's not going to age well. I'm telling you that now. Looking at some of the games stuff that I've been playing with the 4090. Now, obviously, we don't have any games that's maxing out the 24 gigabytes on it, but 12 gigs when you could be able to get 16 gigs, I would go with the 16 gigs. I'm not going to lie. Cyberpunk 2077, 23%. Hogwarts Legacy, 15%. So, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these titles actually have ray tracing on, which is very interesting that they was able to do that. But they also tell you, say, okay, hey, in some of these titles, Dying Light 2 with ray tracing, negative 9%. I don't know why they're still testing Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, hey, negative 12%. So you have your pluses and your minuses, different cars run differently on certain games and stuff like that, but kind of find yourself in the middle of the road. I would definitely go, if this matches up, because I want to actually be able to grab one of these so I can test it myself. But if it matches up, 7800 XT is going to be the way to go. If you're in the $400 to $500 market when it comes to getting a discrete graphics card. And of course, you got a price here. Now, looking at this here, and yeah, hopefully you can be able to see that. You got the 7900 XTX, which is top of the line. It's 96 CUs. You can pretty much find these for $950. I've seen some that was like $7, like crazy deals, but average about between $950 to $1,000. 7900 XT, you can actually find this for about between $750 to $800. And so yeah, and then you have this big gap between these two, between the 7900 XT and the 7800 XT. So that's a big gap. It's a big jump. Talking about a $300 jump to go from, high refresh rate 1440p to entry level 4K-ish, with the 7900 XT, which I think this is still a bad card. Like personally, okay, from 800 to 1,000 or to 950, I'm just going to spend the extra money. And so I don't get it. I'm telling you, if they actually would have priced this card maybe around about 700, this would have been steal. Like if you could find a 7900 XT for maybe about 700, I would actually skip the 7800 XT. But all depends on your budget, price range, stuff that you're in. But once you start to get, if it's going to be more than, if it's within the 100 to 200 price range, I'm always going to go with the extra. Just save a little bit more. Extra couple of weeks, save a little bit more, and you can be able to hit it. Now, Starfield is coming up, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later on in the video, but just pinpoint, hold that thought. All right, so, but those are the new graphics cards. Now, along with that, was also announced FSR 3. Now, there's been like a lot of talk about this, and this is AMD's version of frame generation that Nvidia uses DLSS 3, and I have a video that's going to be coming up about DLSS 3 and whether or not it's worth it and what it does and all the different type of good stuff that you could be able to hear about that. But it's basically it's generating frames, and so makes your gameplay smoother. They talked about fluid gaming. You'll see a lot of that, within here and stuff like that. But there's some specific things about FSR 3 because they're making this available not only to multiple games, but also it's not locked behind a wall when it comes to hardware wise. So, you could be able to use FSR, with Intel graphics cards, Nvidia graphics cards, and of course AMD graphics cards. So that's what makes it phenomenal. But they're trying to open this up to thousands of games. DX11, DX12 games older that's going to be coming. Then they said like the first quarter of next year. But they're definitely FSR 3 is going to be coming to 2 games. And I'm going to go down here just to show you. I don't really agree with the 2 games that they was talking about, but it's cool. So, Immortals of Avium, I actually just played this, definitely make sure that you check out that video. It's going to be coming right after this one. Testing out the 4090 with a 7950X. And the game is amazing. I'm just going to let you know that now. But for AMD, Immortals of Avium and Forspoken, I don't know why they chose Forspoken. They said that the beginning of fall, which is in a couple of weeks, where you'll be able to experience. So it's going to be like the first 2 games where you could be able to experience FSR 3. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's not a lot of people playing Forspoken right now, so that's weird. But Immortals of Avium, I'm curious why they didn't use Starfield, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so you're going to be able to, I'm definitely going to check it out. And test it. Let's see how it looks, against DLSS 3. And maybe we'll see something different. I don't know. But if we go back up here, something I want to show you. So the maximum fidelity with FSR 3. So it says native anti-aliasing mode, new, plus AMD fluid motion frames. That's what they, plus anti-lag plus. But seeing this right here, so at 4K ultra ray tracing settings with FSR off, the 7900 XTX is getting 53 FPS. But with FSR 3 plus the anti-lag plus on the 7900 XTX, it shoots up to 85 average. So we're talking about a 30 frame average increase. That's pretty good. I mean, you can't deny that. The bigger question is how is it going to look? Because there's been a whole big thing about DLSS 3 and, about a lot of what happens, like, when you're looking at it frame by frame, you start to get like this garbled mess and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out with FSR 3. But this anti-lag, so they're saying that FSR 3 is going to be available for everybody. But if you read the fine print, it's not all bells and whistles. And it tells you, say, hey, see end note, RS593. So if we scroll down here, so it says, additionally, gamers using the Radeon RX 7000 series graphics cards can optionally switch on and combine the benefits of our new driver-based Radeon Anti-Lag Plus technology, which is a part of the upcoming update to AMD Software Adrenaline Edition application. Now, this is that software is specific to AMD cards. That's one. It's part of their driver software. So it's used to further lower latency in supported games, which will include FSR 3 games like Forspoken, where frame generation is used. For gamers using RX 6000 series or lower graphics cards when playing an FSR 3 game, they can use anti-lag instead. So there's two different anti-lags. You have a regular anti-lag, then you have an anti-lag plus. Now, there's the thing with DLSS 3 frame generation where you have to use the latency, like the boost. You have to use that to minimize the actual latency, when it comes to NVIDIA. So I think this is a similar thing, but the anti-lag plus is not going to be available if you're using NVIDIA or Intel card. So just keep that in mind when trying to use FSR 3. And then it says, here are some of the future games it's going to support. Obviously, Immortals and Forspoken is going to be the first two games. Then you have Avatar, Cyberpunk 2077, Space Marine 2. I think that game is going to be amazing. Frostpunk Squad, Starship Troopers, Black Myth Wukong. That's another game that's going to be amazing. Still don't have a release date yet, but it's supposed to come out in 2024 next year, which is like right around the corner, and so on and so forth. So they have games that's coming. They have developers that they're working with. It also says here that supported and recommended hardware for using AMD FSR 3 with upscaling only. If you have older AMD cards, that's going to be the RX 590 and above. Recommended RX 5000 series. And then for NVIDIA, GTX 10 series and above, recommended 20 series and above. So, well, it's a little bit different when it comes to supporting recommended hardware for using AMD FSR 3 with upscaling and frame generation. So, if you have an NVIDIA card, 20 series and above, recommended 30 series and above. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works and how it interacts. And I'm here for it. I'm definitely going to be testing that out. Okay, moving on from that. So if you got questions, put it down in the comments below what you think about the new announcement when it comes to the two new graphics cards from AMD and also FSR 3, which I know a lot of people has been waiting on, especially in the AMD community on, make sure it's supposed to come out earlier this year, but there's been a lot of pushback and stuff like that. But it's better late than never, right? Moving on. So there's been also a lot of talk about DLSS 3.5. Mind blown, because when they start talking about these numbers, and DLSS 3.5 is not the same thing as it's confusing. right? Because you have 3.5 and then you have DLSS 3. So DLSS 3.5 includes super resolution frame generation and RR. Now, RR is the new thing. RR is the ray tracing reconstruction. And as you can see in this picture right here, it talks about, just native DLSS off when you have full path ray tracing, 20 FPS, crazy, right? And then you have DLSS 2, which is the norm. That's the super resolution part, allows you to be able to get a, better frame rate. So that's 63. And then you have DLSS 3, which most people know this as frame generation when it comes to Nvidia. 100 FPS, you can't beat that. That's inserting frames, fake frames, whatever you want to call it. I did a little bit of testing with it, and it's like magic. It does make your game a lot smoother. I'm definitely going to do a deep dive into that because I want to test multiple games and give you a real scientific look into like what does it really mean and how does it really help you, if at all. And then you have DLSS 3.5, which is really not about a performance increase, but it's more about, hey, the denoising that happens when it comes with the ray tracing and games and stuff like that, how the image looks, the actual colors and all that different type of stuff. It's about actually making the frame generation better. And I think this is going to be a huge thing if you have an Nvidia card, especially if you 40 series. So yeah, because now here's the kicker when it comes to that. I think the 20 series and the 40, I think the 20 series, 30 series, 40 series card is going to be able to do the reconstruction part. But if you don't have a 40 series card, you're not going to get frame generation. I know it's like super confusing, super confusing. But that's been like this whole thing, saying there's been talking about that. So I don't know. It's almost kind of like, okay, hey, you don't know what to believe. You don't know what's really happening. But inside Cyberpunk, if you look at the left-hand side, there's DLSS off in overdrive mode, which is the full path ray tracing and stuff like that. See how it's kind of garbled, stuff like that. But then with 3.5, with the ray tracing reconstruction, you could clearly see the actual reflection of what's going on. That's going to be huge, right? So I'm definitely, I can't wait to test this out because I definitely want to see what that looks like. And if we take a look at this here, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. So it says DLSS max FPS max quality powered by AI, right? So super resolution, deep learning, anti-aliasing, all GeForce RTX. So that's 20 series, 30 series, 40 series, right? So it says that, DLSS, the super resolution, that's DLSS. That's just DLSS. Then it says frame generation, which that's the interpolated frames. So every other frame is inserting frame. Now, that's going to be included just with the 40 series GPUs only. So that's DLSS 3 and 3.5, which includes the ray tracing reconstruction. Then you have ray tracing reconstruction. It says all GeForce RTX GPUs. So that's 20 series, 30 series, 40 series. But it doesn't include, it's not included with DLSS 2 or 3, right? It doesn't include those. So that's the confusing parts. I just want you to see this. So I don't want you thinking that, hey, you could be able to use DLSS 3 frame generation if you have a 20 or 30 series card, because you're not. The only thing that you can be able to take advantage of is the ray tracing and reconstruction. Noted. All right. So let me know what you think down in the comments below about that. That's a lot of software, a lot of AI stuff that's going on, and the battle of the AIs between Nvidia and AMD is at an all-time high. All right, so moving on. Next up, we have new Nvidia drivers being released, 537.13, and that includes, game ready drivers for Starfield and also Icarus. And it has some other bug fixes Battlefield 2042, Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart. I'm about to get this particular game and do some testing with it. That's going to be a part of the DLSS 3 and the frame generation and native 4K testing and all the different type of stuff. I definitely want to take a look at that. Known issues with DaVinci Resolve, which I use, and I didn't know that there was a problem that was going on with that. And then it talks about the package contents. So Starfield, one of the biggest games that's about to release. And we're about to actually talk about this for a little bit. So take a look at this. Is your computer ready for Starfield? That's something that you need to ask yourself, because if you want to play at the legendary experience for 4K, it says, hey, 7800 X3D. Okay. RX 7900 XT and at least an X670 motherboard. So this is talking about, okay, hey, building your own experience. If you want a great 4K experience, they telling you up front. This is on AMD's website. This is what your system should look like. If you want an epic 1440p experience, 7700X, a 6800 series, and at least a B650 motherboard. And then for 1080p, it's a Ryzen 5 7600, at least a RX 7600. And that is a 1080p card. You can actually get one of those for like $279, $250, something like that. And then an A620 board. So yeah, I mean, they telling you what it should be like if you want to get a great experience. And this is AMD, right? But obviously, counterparts for Intel and stuff like that, when it comes to their CPUs and motherboards, should match up pretty good as well. But if you don't know, there are different combinations of different parts that you could be able to buy from AMD, and you could be able to play Starfield early. So if you get the premium edition of Starfield, you can actually play a week early. So this releases on September the 6th, but you can actually preload now, and you can actually be able to play on September the 1st, I believe is the date. And I think depending on where you're buying the game from, it may be August the 31st. But yeah, you can actually be able to play a week early. So if you get the premium edition, which the eligible AMD processors, 7950X3D, 7950X, 7900X3D, 7900X, 7900. And then from a graphics card standpoint, obviously the best of the best when it comes to AMD, the 7900 XTX, all the way down to a 6700. You could get the premium edition for free, which is $100. So if you plan on buying this game anyway, you can actually get a discount on these processors and graphics cards. Now, for the standard edition of Starfield, you can still get that free, but you're not playing early. It's just going to be on September the 6th. And then you got the 7800 X3D down to the 7600. And then for the graphics card, the 7600 down to the RX 6600. And then if you actually do a combination, so it talks about the premium edition is eligible with systems powered by AMD processor and graphics card. So if it's probably a situation like let's say if you purchased a 7600, but you're also running one of these graphics cards, you can still get the premium edition. And I'm not for sure exactly how that will work. It's probably going to go by. It's probably something that you're going to have to submit, and it's going to look at your hardware identifiers. I'm not sure, but you could definitely look into that yourself. But hey, if you plan on doing a combination and you're running these, either of these together, you can still get the premium edition, which is worth $100. So it's definitely something to look at. And then for my Xbox Game Pass people, whether it's for PC or for your actual Xbox, you have different, and let me see if I could be able to find it. Because I actually just clicked on this, but you have, here we go, different editions, right? So for Starfield Premium Edition, if you have Game Pass, you can actually pre-order this by paying the $34.99 and upgrading, right? And you can be able to play a week early. So that's one way of doing it. And I think, so at 8 p.m. on August the 31st, you can actually start playing. I don't know if I'm leaning toward the sport. And the reason why I say I don't know is because I may just pay the actual full amount, get this on Steam. And because if they start doing mods, usually like on the Steam versions, maybe on Epic Games versions, but definitely on Steam, Yeah, if you like into mods and stuff like that, they usually do the mods. But when it comes to like to the Xbox version, you may not be able to do mods. So that's just a disclaimer out there when it comes to that. But if you have Game Pass, this is a great way to be able to, oh, hey, if you stick with Game Pass, you can upgrade to the premium edition, $34, and keep moving. Or you can pay it all outright. It's $100. Or they give you the option for $69.99, but you don't get early access. It's only available on September the 5th. So yeah, that's it. That's all the news that I have for today. If you want to see more content like this, make sure that you hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you receive all my notifications. And man, I see y'all in the next video. Peace.